welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. This is a paid video for Ben. All right, before we get started, wristwatch check. Still rocking the 14060 on the Jubilee bracelet. I think next week I'm probably going to make my way to RSC and have that link put in the Oyster bracelet. I think I'm about ready for the traditional look, but really enjoying the comfort of the Jubilee and enjoying the look of it as well. All right, so now this is a long email, and if you're short on time, I'll put a timestamp in the description of the video and in one of the comments. And if you click on that, it'll jump you to a summary and I'll answer the question. All right, and I'll also put this email in the description of the video if you want to read it for yourself. But if you have the time, grab a drink, sit back, and let's listen to the situation. All right, so here we go. Hey Austin, I know this may be a bit long, but I think it may make for an interesting video. I want to start out by saying I really enjoy watching your channel and hearing your views on all things watch related. I'd love to visit Japan one day and window shop at all the stores like you do in your videos. Anyway, I recently had an interesting shopping experience that I'd like to share and get your opinion on. To that, I've sent the $25 to your PayPal. Thank you, Ben. All right, so I recently graduated from college, cum laude, with a full-time job lined up, and as a present to myself, I plan on getting a watch. Congratulations, Ben. That's awesome to get a watch to mark those big occasions in life. I already have some vintage 70s Seikos that I wear, along with the occasional vintage Omega I borrow from my dad's collection when I'm at home. That's good your dad's kind of a watch guy. But I am looking to get what would be my first nice watch and have budgeted a little over 10,000 USD to do so. All right, so you're in good standing as far as the money goes. It used to be 5,000, when you're talking Rolex was a good amount to play with. Now it's 10,000. This is something I've been looking forward to and saving up for over the past 2 years, and so I'm very excited to finally be able to take the plunge. After a lot of thinking, I decided that I wanted to get a new watch and be the first owner, because having an entirely vintage collection definitely has some drawbacks, and I wanted something that I could start my own story with. I totally see that point, and I'm a pre-ceramic guy, and I gotta be honest, if I could have paid a little bit more for brand new pre-ceramics, like if they were selling at the ADs, I probably would have done it. You get a new, unmolested, unpolished piece, you get the warranty, you get all the papers. I think that's great. So I think buying new makes a lot of sense, especially if you're talking Rolex. Other brands lose value, so buying new can cost you if you plan on flipping in the future. But I totally see the merit in buying new. And although a steel Rolex would be really appealing, ideally a 126710 BLRO Pepsi, that's the GMT ceramic, because beside the fact that it looks amazing, I am in training to be a commercial pilot, and I could use the watch for its intended purpose. Yeah, that would be a perfect watch for you. Personally, I'd go with the BLNR because I think it's a little less loud. I think you could wear it in more situations. But anyway, the Pepsi, of course, is the most popular of the bunch. I didn't really want to deal with 80 politics or gray market economics. While at school and doing research, aka shopping, I've been personally given the Rolex runaround too many times by dealers who claim I just had to get lucky to find a steel sports model, yet seem to never have them on display, even if I stopped by right as they opened for the day. Well, I know how you feel there. I think many of us do. So after considering many different watches from many makers, I settled on the Zenith El Primero A384 Revival. It had that classy retro look, a superb story, a well-regarded in-house movement, and is Pontiff approved, which is always important. I had fallen in love with this watch, and considering I plan on buying a watch to wear and enjoy and not to make money off of, it seemed like the perfect one for me. All right, so look, it's going to be a little less wearable than an Oyster. It's a chronograph. It's got more openings, so you're probably going to hesitate swimming in it. If you get it on the leather strap, then that's going to make it pretty much a non-water resistant watch. If you get it on the steel strap, and I think they do make a steel bracelet for it, that's what I would go for. It's not going to be as good a daily wear as an Oyster, all right? So I'll just have to say that. And would I buy that watch new? I would save the new watch buying for Rolex. I would try to get that watch pre-owned, all right? Because like you said, I mean, you indicate that you're aware that it's probably going to tank in value. And, why be the person that takes the bath on that? So I understand wanting a new watch, but, well, I understand wanting a new Rolex. But when it comes to certain brands, I'd say go pre-owned, but it's your call. Okay, so we're getting into sort of the story that's relevant to the question here. The other day, I was on my way to try it on at a Zenith AD about an hour away when I realized that the Rolex boutique nearest to my family's house, where I've been staying since my university went online, was open. Having only experience with dealers in another city and thinking that maybe the recent economic situation may have made some models more available, I felt like I would be silly not to at least do my due diligence and check things out. I was fully expecting to get the runaround from them as well, thank them for their time, and go off to the Zenith AD about 20 minutes down the road to buy the A384. All right. I went in and immediately was shown a GMT root beer that they had gotten in that morning. A very lucky find, but way out of my price range. Yes, about 5 years ago, a two-tone professional Rolex. Not a big deal to find. These days it is. You'd never be able to find that here in Japan. But still nothing like the stainless steel professional models, but still somewhat of a rare find. While trying it on, I got to talking with the salesman. As it turned out, we both grew up in the same town and went to the same high school. We had a very friendly chat for a few minutes about the town and how things have changed since he was last there, as well as my accomplishments and career prospects, until I let him know that unfortunately the root beer was too far out of my budget. But what I really hoped for was a GMT Pepsi. He responded by saying that although the BLROs were already allocated for the rest of the year, that he would try and help me out, seeing how I was a local and planned to really use the watch for what it was meant to do. He took my contact info, I asked for his card, and he turned out to be a member of the family that owns the boutique. All right, so he has developed somewhat of a relationship from an AD right before pulling the trigger on that Zenith. All right, so obviously this was a very pleasant surprise, and since that visit, I have become very excited about the possibility of getting one of the least available watches currently on the market, and without having spent tens of thousands of dollars for the privilege. But the problem is I have to make a choice between the BLRO and the A384 Zenith. I'm not in the position to afford both, nor do I expect to be anytime soon. If it was 100% certain that I would be able to get a Pepsi, I would take it over the Zenith any day of the week. But I'd hate to wait until next year only to find out I wasn't on the list after all. So I'm asking you for your opinion on the matter. Do you think the salesman was just being nice, or is it possible that I actually got on a wait list? Should I follow up with the dealer either in the next few weeks or maybe in November or December to confirm I'm in line to get the watch? How would I phrase such a follow-up? My brain says to take the Zenith, save myself the hassle and the 2000 USD, and enjoy the uncommonness and high beat chronograph functionality, but my heart is hopeful about the possibility of a Pepsi If only I am patient enough. Thank you so much for your advice, Ben. P.S. I'm in the U.S. if that influences your thoughts. All right, thanks again for the question, Ben. So to summarize, this gentleman is right on the verge of buying a Zenith chronograph, brand new. He's headed to the Zenith AD, but he stops by a Rolex AD, and he sort of hits it off with the salesman. They have a little bit of rapport, and he mentions that he really wants a BLRO, that's the Pepsi ceramic GMT, and the guy gets his contact info. And so now he's left thinking, am I on the list for this Pepsi? This is what I would really like. Should I hold off? I can't get both watches. So now he doesn't know what to do, all right? And here we are. All right, so before we get into it, let me just ask my viewers to throw a comment in the comment section. Let Ben know what he should do, what you would do. Let me know if the advice I'm gonna give is something you agree with, all right? So now, this is a sort of a difficult situation because that possibility and hope is messing up your plans to get the Zenith. Now, I don't know how much more you want the BLRO than the Zenith. I mean, I would want a BLRO, 10, 20, 30 times more than the Zenith. So for me, it would be easy. I'd just hold off on the Zenith. Honestly, I wouldn't buy the Zenith, period. Okay, but that's me. So it really depends a lot on how much more do you like the BLRO, okay? And afterwards, if you get the call that the BLRO is there, how much regret are you gonna feel, okay? Not much. Well, just go with the Zenith, all right? Don't let that hope, stand in the way of getting a watch, all right? But I think the sort of nightmare scenario is that you buy the Zenith and like the next week you get the call that the BLRO is in. And my guess is that's not going to happen, okay? But it's a possibility. And so I wouldn't get the Zenith right off the bat. I would just hold off a little bit. You've got time, right? There's no rush. And so I would see where things go, all right? But at the same time, though you developed some rapport with this guy, we don't know how genuine it is. We don't know how much he really likes you and how much he was just playing the kind, sympathetic staff member. And look, he got your information, he gave you a glimmer of hope, but in the same breath, he said they're allocated for the year. And so that's basically saying right there, don't expect it for the rest of the year. Now, if something happens, possibly it could work out, but it seems to me what a lot of people who are working at ADs say. I mean, they don't want to say right off the bat, look, we had a great rapport, but, I can't take your number. I mean, that's what he's going to do. And the fact that you are a local and that you went to the same high school, yeah, that might play a part in it. But hey, let's just be real about this. He knows you're going to be a one-off purchase. And so if he's got, and his family owns the AD, right? Or he has some sort of family connection with the AD, number one is making money, right? And those VIPs that are likely on the list, and I'm assuming it's working like this, are probably going to get the call first, all right? Because as good as the rapport is, you're not friends, okay? You're going to buy the watch and you're going to be off on your way, all right? And I can't see him, I mean, if you really were a friend and you were like having beers with this guy, yeah, okay, but you're not. You just went to the same high school. And look, I mean, talk about your job prospects. He's stuck selling watches in an AD and you're going to be flying around the world, making probably more money than he is. I don't know that he's going to go out of his way to really help you out, Mr. One-Off. So I think he was nice to you, and I think he gave you a glimmer of hope. But I think that's his job. That's what the ADs have become. They're not hope dashers, they're hope builders, and that's how they keep good relations and you coming back. And again, he said right there, pretty much what I think you need to focus on, and that's the fact that they're allocated for the rest of the year. All right. So that's not to say that if something happened and they got a BLRO in and they called everybody and nobody wanted it, and they have the choice to put it in the display case and let some random guy buy it, or you, well, you'd probably get the call. But I have a feeling that they're more moneyed interest to be satisfied than this sort of one-off relationship that I think maybe you're putting too much stock in. Okay, now having said that, the thing that I would do is while you hold off, I would go by maybe once every 2 weeks, okay, or 3 weeks, and the next time I went by, I wouldn't bring up the GMT at all. I would just build rapport. And in fact, if you really want to do it right, I would see if you have sort of a friendly enough connection. Then if you want to see if the guy wants to hang out, okay. And I don't know how old you are, but perhaps you're 21 and maybe get a beer somewhere. And that would be fun because you could talk watches, you could get a little inside information on the AD. And that's what I would do. I would go by and build that rapport and try to hang out with the guy. And I'm not saying doing it in like a weaselly way, but I mean, he works for an AD, so I would love to have a beer with a guy who works at an AD, pick his brain a little bit and have some fun. That will help that. And so I would go by, I wouldn't bring up the GMT, and I'd just look at some other watches, and I wouldn't say anything. And I would do that every couple weeks. Okay, not less is more. All right, not every week, maybe every 3 weeks or so. And as you get to talking, I would mention that you really like Zenith. Maybe ask him what he thinks of Zenith and say, I'm thinking of getting this Zenith. I like the connection between Rolex and, that there was a connection between Rolex, and he'll probably say, yeah, and you can talk about that. And you can also mention that possibly you were on your way to get that Zenith the first time you stopped by, and then you decided not to. You're not quite sure if you want to pull the trigger on that Zenith now. Hopefully he'll read between the lines that you're kind of waiting for the GMT. And I would set a time, maybe 6 months, that, and if you're going back off to school, that would be a good time to do it, because you really will have to leave. And mention to him, I gotta head out on this date, and so before I go, I'm definitely looking to get the watch, and so I'm kind of leaning towards that Zenith. And if you've been there a couple times, maybe then you could say, unless that BLRO comes up, I think what I would say is that every day, about, if you're in Japan at least, 50 people stop by and ask about these watches. And so the less you talk about that damn watch, the better off you're going to be. So he knows you want it, okay? And he remembers you. So you really don't want to, you really want to build a relationship and not really talk about the watch, to be honest, okay? Talk about other watches. Talk about that Zenith, okay? And again, every 3 weeks I would stop by. And, after a couple times, I would sort of let him know that this is the date where you're shipping out and you're not going to be there anymore, and that you want to get a watch by then. And if that date comes, I would get the Zenith. And before I got the Zenith, I would stop by and I would tell him, I would say, yeah, I'm heading to get the Zenith today. This is the day I gotta get it. And I would say, I'd like the BLRO, but it didn't happen. I mean, there's not one in the back, is there? I mean, and he's probably going to say no, but I would make sure to say, take me off your list. Don't call me if it comes in, because I wouldn't want the call. All right. And my guess is that unless you really make him like you and want to hook you up with a BLRO, which he probably doesn't feel that now. I mean, I get the gist that it's still at the sort of polite, friendly stage. I don't think you're quite friends yet. But if you become friends, legitimately so, I think you could get a BLRO. I think he's going to want to hook you up with one before you head out. But as it stands, I'm not feeling it. And, I wasn't there, but I imagine that's what he does to a lot of locals. Okay. And anyway, so I don't want to give you a sort of false hope, but I would hold off on the Zenith for the next couple of months, and I would stop by again, like I said, and develop the rapport and see if you like the guy enough to have a beer with. All right. And talk watches with him. You have a few beers with a guy, and that's going to do wonders. All right. And after, I'd say, 4 visits over maybe 6 months or so, I would start planting the seeds of, I'm going to get a Zenith, I think. And when that day comes that you've set, and I think you do need to set a date where sort of enough is enough, I would let him know very casually about that date. And once that date arrives, I'd give him one more chance. I'd stop by before you get the Zenith and say, like, I'm getting the Zenith today. So that BLR never happened. Kind of a shame. I mean, there's not one in the back, is there? And if he says yes, great. If he says no, say, yeah, I hear you. Got to get my watch, but please take me off the list. I'll see you around, and still be friends with him. Hopefully, maybe in the future he can hook you up. That's one thing. I wouldn't sort of give him this last ultimatum. Hey, I want the BLRO. I'm getting the Zenith, and this is the end of our friendship. No, I mean, just say no hard feelings. I'm gonna get the Zenith, but go ahead, just take me off the list, and still stop by every now and then if you want to continue that relationship. I mean, years down the road, possibly it could pay off. But that's what I would do. I think there's a lot of false hope there. Okay, unless you really work that relationship and make it more into a legitimate friendship. Do a little hanging out. Okay, easier said than done. And you got to do it in a way that doesn't look like, hey man, I want a BLRO. Hey, can I get you a beer too? It's tough. Hopefully the guy's likable. Hopefully you really did strike a friendship enough that, it's not odd to be like, what are you doing after work? Let's get a beer and let's chop out watches. So, viewers, let me know what you would do. I would give it 6 months. I would give it a date. And after that, I wouldn't look back. I'd go to the Zenith. Okay. But if you're like me, you would see beauty in the discontinued models. The 116710LN, which was discontinued. That's the all black bezel ceramic GMT. That's beautiful. It's got the older movement. That's not a big deal. It's got the blue Cerachrom spring. Not as much power reserve. Who cares about that? But that's discontinued. I think that's a really cool watch to have, and could be collectible. The last black, and they're not that much more than what you have to work with. You can get them for about here in Japan, around, I'd say, a little over 10 grand. In the States, probably you can get them for less, and that would give you your GMT. I would like the fact that it's discontinued. It makes it sort of cool. That went up to 15,000 and then sort of dropped back down. And is it going to be a classic? Is it going to be collectible? I don't know. I don't know how many of those are out there, but I think it's the last of the sort of oyster braceleted, monocolored bezeled GMTs, and you would have to get it pre-owned, but that's probably what I would do over the Zenith, Ben. And the only reason I don't tell you to go pre-ceramic is because you're going to be flying, and so if you're worried about magnetization, then I would probably want the blue Cerachrom spring. Not that I've had any problems with my watches with the Niverox hairsprings, but that's probably what I would do. Okay, over the Zenith. I just had to throw that out there. Captain Danny, who's a viewer of the channel, who actually just got this beautiful Blancpain He was swimming with a Casio and was like, I need to swim with something good. And he got this beautiful Blancpain to swim with. He wears a all black ceramic GMT, and he's a pilot, and it serves him well. Super accurate watch. He's got some video on his channel. I'll put a link in the description to it of how accurate that watch is. And I gotta be honest, I think it's much more wearable long term than the BLRO because of the lack of the colors. We get drawn into these accents, these colored accents. But let me tell you, after you wear it for a week or 2 weeks, these all black, kind of boring colored watches really satisfy for the long term. So I'm thinking the 116710 LN, that's what I would get. Sweating up a storm here. It's hot. Let's end the video. Take care, Ben. Thanks. Whatever you go with, let me know. Okay? Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.